And what the question is asking is how far apart Leaf and Tanis are. Once I draw that line to represent how far apart they are, how many right-angled triangles are there? Are you okay? Okay. Are you okay if I put a right angle here?
Yeah.
Because this one is east and one is south, that's perfectly 90 degrees. And wherever the tower is, there'll be a right angle here, and there'll be a right angle here. So we have 3 right-angled triangles. The triangle that the X is on, I'm going to draw that one all in green. Okay? And I'm going to redraw it here with the 90 degree there. This is the X we'd like to find. Do we know anything else on that triangle? No. So you need 3 pieces of information with at least one side, and we only have that it has a 90 degree. Nothing else. So we can't solve anything there. With the other right triangles that we have, I'll draw this one in blue. And I'll redraw it over here if we were looking directly from the side. There's the right angle. We know the height of the tower is 35, and we know the angle here is 50. And finally, our other triangle, other right triangle is right here. I'll draw that one in red. I'll draw it in red over here from a side view. Now we know 90 degree here. This angle is 70, and the tower is 35 meters tall. Can you see in both the blue triangle and the red triangle that we have enough information to solve it completely? We have 3 pieces of information, at least one side. We could find everything on the blue triangle. We could find everything on the red triangle. However, we just want to solve X. So solving for everything, even though we could do it, would take longer. If we can determine what's the most important things we need to solve for, what things on the blue triangle or what things on the red triangle are going to help us with the green triangle, that'll be quicker. Stephen? The base. The base of the blue one and the base of the red one. So let's pick some letters. You want to use A for the base of the blue one. And Q. Q for the initials of the base of the red one. So let's go to our blue triangle. If I want to find A, and I have 50 degrees here, the A is what side? No, it's the adjacent side. Based on that 50, it's right close to. And the 35 is the opposite side. So when I write this out, SOHCAHTOA, which one will I use? Tan. Tan of 50 equals opposite over adjacent. When our variable is in the bottom, we need to multiply both sides by A. After you multiply both sides by A, you would need to divide both sides by tan 35, tan 50, and you will get 35 over tan 50. Take out our calculator. 35 divided by tan of 50. Push enter, and I'm going to store that as letter A, because that's the letter we chose, because we're going to need to use this later. 29.4. That's what it is rounded, but even though I write a rounded answer here, I'm going to keep all my decimal places until the end so that I'm as accurate as possible. So I know that this here is 29.4, and I can label that on my green triangle because that was this part, 29.4. Now going to our red triangle. We want to find Q based on the 70 degrees. Hannah, what is that? Opposite or adjacent? Based on the 70, the Q would be? Yes. And across from the 70, the 35 would be the opposite. SOHCAHTOA, we're going to use TOA. It's going to be tan. So tan of 70 degrees is 35 over Q. Again, we would have to multiply both sides by Q and then divide both sides by tan of 70. Type that into our calculator. 35 divided by tan of 70. Push enter. It's 12.7. I'm going to store that one as Q. Did I pick the right letter? No, I picked O. Delete. Q is right there. There's Q. Nice. 12.7. So Q is 12.7, and that helps us on my green, or helps us on our green triangle, because that 12.7 is right there. Now let's look at our green triangle. Do we have 3 pieces of information with at least one side? Yeah. Yes. So how are we going to solve for x? Perfect. We have to use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. You can never use SOHCAHTOA with a 90 degree. SOHCAHTOA doesn't work with a 90 degree because there's a problem, because opposite the 90 is the hypotenuse. So you can't tell the difference between an opposite and hypotenuse. It just doesn't work. So in this case, where we have 2 sides but not the hypotenuse, we're going to need to use a squared, which is the blue one here. I'll color code it. 29.4 squared plus 12.7 squared equals x squared. Now it's nice that we stored these values in our calculator, because the 29.4 was a, so I can just go alpha a and square it, a squared, plus, then I can get q and square it, and that is sure a lot nicer than typing in all those decimal places and squaring them. And it tells us that that's exactly 1024, and then I can square root that, or at least I can write that step out. X squared is 1024.8, but we're keeping more decimal places, and then square root our answer, and x is 32.0 meters. Circle it, because that's our final answer. Did it say how much to round it to? No, so then you get to choose. So I did it to 1 decimal place. That would be fine in this one if you put just 32, because it didn't say you had to do anything more. Okay? If we rounded early and we got 29.8, then you would lose a half a mark for accuracy. And that's the end of the unit, the last question. Yes.